So just realized that I've been recording and I wasn't recording any audio. So part two of restarting the recording. All right. So what we have here is we have our, we have our skeletal muscle model here, and we have I turned on the GI tract. So that I think I also have the respiratory tract on. I don't need that yet, but just these two for now. We have our face, we have our teeth, and we have the parotid gland, guys. Yeah, you know how much she really, 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 really likes the parotid gland, and so it's situated in the back of our mandible, low posteriorly, and the duct goes all the way and secretes to where are you? The maxillary second molar upper. So it was on the summative. If you missed it, oh well, better luck next time. I'm kidding. But yeah, now we all know where it is. It's from the parotid gland, and it secretes to the second molar of the maxillary upper teeth. So we are going to go in and look at it closer, but wanted to start with the oral cavity, and as it says, oral cavity is in there, and behind the oral cavity we have our pharynx, and we have our three parts of our pharynx. We have our nasopharynx, the oropharynx, and the laryngopharynx. So oropharynx opens to the nose, yeah, and the nasal cavity. So you can see nasopharynx all the way in the back, and we know the nasopharynx communicates with the nasal cavity through the nasal cornea. Let me double check on that information, or how to even pronounce that. So nasal cornea, and we have our oropharynx, which opens to the oral cavity. It's hard to see from here, but when we go through the mouth, we'll see it much better. And we have our laryngopharynx, which is below the oropharynx. Now, if we're in the mouth, you would see that this part of the oral cavity is the soft palate, and obviously anterior to that would be the hard palate. So courtesy to student Dr. Gandhi, she came up with a mnemonic calling demarcating what the borders of the three parts of the pharynx were. So she said sans Pete, which is SNSP. It has something to do with Pete Davidson being the ex of Kim Kardashian, as in sans Pete. But I didn't really get that. Sure, she could shed a better light on it. But we have nasopharynx, and the top border of it is the skull, which would be the first S. So SNSS, skull, and nasopharynx. And S would be the soft palate, but also below it is the oropharynx. And when you in the oropharynx, the superior part would be the soft palate. So the mnemonic she came up with that is SPO, as in S, small letter P, capital O for oropharynx, and E would be the epiglottis, which would be in the beginning of the laryngopharynx. So SPO, sans, SNSP, we have skull, nasopharynx, soft palate. SPO, soft palate, which would be the beginning, oropharynx, and epiglottis, SPOE, SPO. And the mnemonic she came up with for the laryngopharynx would be ELK, ELC. And for elk, you have the epiglottis, which will be the beginning or the superior part of the laryngopharynx. Then we have laryngopharynx, EL. Then C will be the cricoid cartilage, which would be in there. So I think how you're able to see, I think I had the, yep. So we have a cricoid thyroid cartilage in there, and our cricoid cartilage should be in there, I hope. Once we get in, okay. So I can't see it right now, but once we get in, we'll see if we can have a better look. This is our thyroid gland, which is in front of our trachea, and cricothyroid ligament. Hopefully the cricoid cartilage is in there. Cricothyroid ligament, thyroid cartilage, thyroid membrane. Go up. Yeah, but two more things I wanted to show was the submandibular gland, which is below or beneath the mandible. So that also secretes saliva, and the precision is key. Okay, I can't really see it. Move forward, and we have our sublingual gland. Okay, just wanted to point it out, but that was a waste of your 5 seconds or 10 seconds. So I'm gonna move to M mode, and in M mode we could see these things much better. I'm gonna pin you here so you don't bother me, and I'm gonna take our respiratory tract, or maybe I'll just keep it there. And what we'll do is we'll go into the oral cavity first. So as I was saying earlier, the maxillary second molar is where the parotid duct secretes to, and we have our parotid gland. A mandible, and we have the maxilla, and this would be the second molar. This would be the maxilla, second molar, mandibular second molar. My bad. Speaking too fast for my own good. Now, we'll go into the. How did you get back here? We'll go into our oral cavity, and we have our tongue, and we have our intrinsic muscles of the tongue, all demarcated here. It's not really pointed out. Oh, filiform papillae, histology was one of them. Fungiform papillae. This are these little things on the tongue. I didn't really read up on them. I should probably go read up on them since they are here. Maybe not, but we will see. Fungiform. It's one of them had von Edgar's bodies. I'm gonna check it really quickly. Take 2 seconds. Oops. All right. Ding. 7%. Von Ebner's gland, circumvallate papillae, has von Ebner's glands, and folate papillae and rudimentary in humans, and does not contain von Ebner's gland. Folate papillae. Where are we? So foliate, fungiform, filiform. It doesn't say foliate, but circumvallate papillae has von Ebner's glands, and what he was saying about von Ebner's gland is they are serious salivary glands. Obviously, they didn't bother to show us, but there's so much we can ask for. But yeah, so now we are in our oral cavity. We have our uvula, and we have our oropharynx, and that's an opening in the pharynx that communicates with the oral cavity. We will go to the nasopharynx first, and in the nasopharynx we have our posterior wall, and we have our anterior. And the anterior of the nasopharynx communicates with the nasal cavity, and it communicates with this. Let me get some room. Okay, it communicates. If you imagine this space right here, right in front of us, that would be the nasal cornea, and that's how the nasopharynx communicates with the nasal cavity. So we have our nasal cavity left, nasal cavity right, and all that good stuff. So once what she said about the nasopharynx. So as we said, sans P for nasopharynx, the top of it would be the skull. If we took our respiratory tract away, we have our skull, which would be the top superior part of it. Then we have our nasopharynx. Then below we would have, wait, come back here. We will have our soft palate. So as I was saying, the top part of the oral cavity, this part, interacting with things in the real world. It's not fun, but the top part would be our soft palate, hard palate, all the way back there. So SNSP, SNSP, and the lower border of the nasopharynx would be the soft palate. Now back into our nasopharynx. Nasopharynx has our pharyngeal tonsils, but as I checked earlier in the video that had no voice, they didn't show us in here. There's no tonsils. There are tonsils on the bottom, but we'll get to that later. But one thing I wanted to show is this opening, and she called it the pharyngeal tympanic tube, also called the auditory tube and the eustachian tube. Sorry, looking around. The eustachian tube, and what she said is it communicates with our middle ear canal. So if I took this up a little bit and I looked in there, probably would get to the ear from somewhere here. Maybe. Oh, foramen over. Something about things exiting from here. Anyways, back into our nasopharynx. And the last thing I wanted to point out about the nasopharynx is let me spin this around and go into the nasopharynx. It's the bottom part. So it communicates with the oral cavity through what is called the pharyngeal isthmus. So you have, sorry, just lots of moving around. If we go into our nasopharynx and we look down, this part will be where the line meets the oropharynx. All around that space would be our pharyngeal isthmus, and that space is how the nasopharynx communicates with the oral cavity right here. So imagine where I am right now, all around here, this top part right here, this space that the controller is on, will be the oropharynx. That will be the pharyngeal isthmus, and that's how the nasopharynx communicates with the oral cavity. Now, so what is this? Lingual tonsils. So we have our lingual tonsils in here, and she did mention that, but not much read up on that. We'll see. Okay, so now that will conclude our nasopharynx.